You have a TV?
No. I just like to read the TV guide. Read the TV guide. You don't need a TV. Television addict! Television addict! Television addict!
Hello and welcome to TV Guidance Counselor. I am Ken Reed, your TV Guidance Counselor, here each and every week for the last over 7 years, talking about classic television with all kinds of fascinating people, using back issues of TV Guide magazine from my personal collection as the gateway into our collective past. Welcome to the show, or welcome back to the show. I am an on hiatus Boston stand-up comedian. I don't know how much longer I can say that, given that it's like over a year since I've been able to do stand-up, but I will continue to do so until I am told I no longer can legally make that claim, and I haven't renewed my stand-up comedy license. Anyway, thank you guys for checking out the show. If this is your first time checking out the show, if you're a fan of my guest this week, who is fantastic, welcome. I think you'll enjoy this show. If you're a regular listener, what's up, guys? How you doing? Yeah. This is a fun episode. As you may or may not know, since we've gone into lockdown again over a year ago, I have expanded the scope of guests I can have on the show because I was very adverse to, is that the word I'm looking for? Averse, to having guests on remotely because I like to do the show face to face, and then I was forced to do it remotely. But it's worked out better in a lot of ways because there are people I've been getting to talk to because that I wouldn't have talked to otherwise because we weren't in the same city. And one of the things I got really into since COVID was a lot of the YouTube channels, which I had not checked out before. And I completely fell in love with the Try channel. If you are unfamiliar with this, it is Irish people trying various foods and drinks. It is just a delight. I look forward to it every week. They have a great cast of people who are always funny and entertaining. And one of my favorites is my guest this week, Callyann Brennan. And she is fantastic. She is a radio broadcaster in Dublin, is on the Try channel often. Just a delight. She's fantastic. I loved talking to her. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's episode of TV Guidance Counselor with my guest live from Dublin, Callyann Brennan.
TV is my friend, and it has been always there for me in time of need.
This week, live via satellite from Ireland, Callyann Brennan, how are you?
Hello, how are you? I am so bubbly excited to be chatting to you.
You're 5 hours ahead, so if anything is going to go wrong, or if you know anything that you should warn me about, let me know so I can avoid it.
I will text you in advance.
Okay.
And I will let you know. Is the lottery out yet at the moment?
I don't think so.
Okay, I'll suss it for you. I got you. I got you.
Awesome. And I'll give you 20% if that works.
Fabulous.
Okay.
Look at this. This teamwork already is phenomenal. Loving it.
Yes, it's a fee that you get for being from the future. So those are my dogs. They will yell at points in the background, but people are used to it at this point.
My dog will probably do the same.
Okay.
So it's okay. We're good.
I've had to move to editing with headphones now because if they hear themselves from the past, they'll go nuts. So I'm like, this is a singularity. Like it'll just go forever and they'll never end.
Just talk to themselves.
Yeah. Who is that? They're impersonating me. Because dogs don't understand recording.
Absolutely.
So when I asked you to do the show, you said, because I think you're quite a bit younger than me, and bless you for it. But you said like 94, 95. You were young, but you remembered that your family had taped a lot of stuff from those years?
So many tapings. There's just so many, Ken. So if anything, back in the day, tape was it. So if we were to commit to watching something, if we got our TV guide and there was something that we wanted to watch or my parents wanted to watch, there was no hope of getting it on DVD or anything. Tape was your best friend. So I have boxes upon boxes. I'm not even joking. If I could show you right now, boxes of tapes, whether it be a TV show or a movie or anything, all on tape. So anything that was out then was definitely taped by my family.
And you have siblings?
I do. I have twin sisters who are older, Shauna and Kira, and then I have a younger brother, Tiernan. So yeah, I'm the middle. Technically, I mean, do twins count as one? I'm middle child.
I think they count as one person. They only pay taxes for one person. Everybody knows that.
I mean, Yeah, exactly. So technically middle child syndrome was definitely there.
But were they picking, like, generally the oldest is the one who's like, I'm making the decisions about what we're watching, and you all kind of have to just fall in line with it? Was that how the taping worked? No.
No, not a hope. To be honest, I have to say that we all have similar taste in any sort of TV show or any sort of movie. But my brother and I will probably be the most dominant ones on that because we've got better taste. Even from a young age, we had better taste in movies. We are the movie nerds out of the family. I go to my sisters for the galley bits. If I want to chat about girls things, I go to them. If I want to quote Star Wars or Harry Potter, my brother's the go-to. Do you know what I mean? So we always had better taste in TV shows. So I put it down to my brother and I for picking those.
Okay, so the tapes weren't used as like a bargaining chip where you were like, well, if you guys want to watch that, we get to tape this, which is actually the better option because then you have it.
Yeah, no, if the other way it was the other round, we'd just say, if you don't watch this, we're just going to put it on anyway. And if you don't agree with us, the younger siblings had better choice of parents. So I'm like, I'm just going to tell mom and dad that we're not watching it.
You are not negotiating with terrorists. You are right in there.
When it comes to what I want to watch, I own it.
Yeah, you are laying down, you're going nuclear option right from the get-go, and they're just going along for the ride. So obviously people probably can hear that you're Irish and you're in Ireland, and this is a US TV guide. Have you ever seen a US TV guide before?
When I got it sent to me, my mind was blown for how similar the shows were. I had more of an issue trying to not pick something out than to pick something out because there was a lot of things. I was definitely influenced a lot by American TV, big time. In Ireland, the only difference was Father Ted or Mass was on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Fair City at best. That's the difference that we had. Everything else was the same. You still had Friends. You still had the Rugrats. You still had Saved by the Bell, which shaped me as a human being. I swear down. I was Kelly Kapowski till I was 19.
Did you get the new class or did you only get the OG Saved by the Bell?
We got everything. We actually got everything. So it was on, so we had, from the start to the finish, we had it all, but then they cut it. So there was only that time period where you got to watch it. And now, isn't it coming back out again?
I think rumors. So. Well, as we know, Screech just died. So they may be doing some tributes. But they always try to reboot it every couple of years. And there's a new one that's airing, I think, on Peacock, which is like our streaming NBC service. And it's like Slater and Jesse teach at the school now, I think.
No.
Yeah, it's like a next generation Saved by the Bell, but it has a real like Degrassi. It doesn't have the artificial weird.
I don't know how I feel about it.
Yeah.
I'm already nodding subconsciously no to this.
Yeah.
Don't wreck a good thing when it's already there.
I read this kid in like the early days of the millennium. Someone wrote an essay and their theory was that everything that happened on Saved by the Bell took place in the school.
Yes.
So like even the Max, Zach's room, like it was all like a biodome. And it was this really elaborate essay this kid wrote with like fairly convincing evidence that that's what happened. And I'm like, that's the world I want. I don't want them to be like shot on film like real people.
I love that. I hope he got an A1 in that. That sounds, I want to read this. Send it my way.
Yes, absolutely. And to make you very jealous, they did a pop-up in LA not the last time I was up there, but a year or two ago of the Max.
Stop it.
It was the exact Max, and then they also had Belding's office, and it was a restaurant. You go and you eat there, and it was amazing. It was exactly the Max.
I'd say there was absolute killings for their table.
Yeah.
So that they had their table. I would queue for a year. I'd queue for a year just to sit down and be like part of the crew.
It was worth it. It was worth it, frankly.
And pick a song.
Yes. Oh yeah, you could play the jukebox. Have you been to the States? Have you visited here?
I went, now I'm not even joking, when I say I am the biggest American fan of America. I just love America so much. I'm a marketer's dream when it comes to this sort of stuff. Honest to God, I'm so easily influenced. But I turned 25 and I made this decision that for my 25th birthday, I wanted to treat myself to a trip that I've always wanted to do. And number one on my list that I've always wanted to do solo was to go to New York and experience New York. I can't even explain to you how much of a movie nerd I am. I wanted to go everywhere where even a smidgen of a scene was filmed so that I could tell, just for my own selfish need, to say, I've been there. So that was my mission, and it happened when was it? 2019. I went to New York and I had the best time ever. It was so much fun. I went to, one of my favorite movies is Maid in Manhattan, and I went to find the bench that J-Lo's booty sat on. I'm finding this bench. If J-Lo sat here, I'm sitting here.
Yeah. And you could still see the imprint, like, because it's J-Lo.
It's still there, obviously. Of course it's still there.
Yeah. I remember when that movie came out. This is a ridiculous story, by the way. I was working at our local CBS affiliate, and Ben Affleck had just broken up with her, which mistake. But for absolutely. But for some bizarre reason, he was dating a sales girl at this TV station I worked at. I mean, it was Boston, so I have no idea how this happened. But we had, it was ridiculous. So we had paparazzi like all outside the building all the time, and I look nothing like Ben Affleck. This is true.
This story's going to get so good, I can tell.
But I'm like roughly of similar height, and at that time, like somewhat similar build. So when I would come out of the office, I'd come out with my jacket over my head, and they'd all like jump out of their cars and start snapping pictures. And then I just unzip and be like, no. And they would get so mad. It was great.
I love it.
It was great.
I love it.
It was fantastic.
Oh my God, if Ben Affleck hears this, he needs to know you saved him so many times. You could have been the diversion.
Yeah. I was like, you get out of here, man. I'll take care of this. I'm going to divert these people. Yeah. But I just remember being like, because there were ads for that movie everywhere. So it was like billboards at jail. And I'm like, what were you thinking, man? Obsessed. But there was things I didn't get to do. I have such a list of things that I still need to do. I was 10 days in New York, and it wasn't enough time for me to get all of my movie feels out there. I went to obviously Central Park. I was such a loser. I went on the horse and carriage ride by myself, and that I did not know was like a known thing for couples. Yeah. So I was getting so many people turning around to me, laughing, saying, "Do you need someone to join in the carriage? You actually look so alone." I didn't care. Yeah. My horse, I don't know what we would call them, the carriage driver. He was from Ireland. So, but he was a movie nerd as much as I was. So I was getting this personal movie tour whilst in a horse and carriage. I mean, luxury. Yeah, if you had someone else with you, that just would have been a distraction at that point.
Absolutely. He was telling me where Home Alone was filmed, where scenes were filmed, where all these things were. So it was great.
What's some of the things you didn't get to do that are like for...
I didn't get to do Statue of Liberty. I was devastated I didn't get to that, purely because I didn't know how to get down to the bleeding boats. Yeah. Yeah. I hadn't a notion where to go. I didn't get into the Met. But I did get into the museum because I loved Night Museum, but I love Dum Dum. I've never related so much to an inanimate object in my life. And I was like, this Dum Dum needs to meet Dum Dum. So, and he wasn't. I was expecting Dum Dum to be displayed like this is Dum Dum. You had to hunt. I went on a trek to find him. He's buried far down.
It's rewarding though when you find it. You're like, now I earned this.
I'm so proud of myself. I was, and there was no one there. So it was me and Dum Dum having a moment together. It was great.
Maybe that's who you could have taken the carriage ride with.
That's exactly. He would have appreciated all of the other rockery that I was appreciating.
Yeah. Maybe just did it in the wrong order. That was the problem.
Exactly. Yeah. That's exactly it. One of the things that I wanted to do as well was done the Fifth Avenue, but I didn't get to go to where all those scenes were filmed with I'm Legend and stuff. I wanted to go to there, couldn't find them. Yeah, saved my life. But I did get a cannoli in Carlos's Bakery. Big fan. Wasn't disappointed.
Oh, cannolis are fantastic. That was
good.
Yeah, that was one of the things. Good. I lived in London for a while, and I missed cannolis and these like roast beef sandwiches that we have in Boston. They were the only foods that I was like, I kind of, those are the only things I would go home for. The only things.
It was so weird. I felt like I became a New Yorker by the end of it because I had to go. So I was staying in Long Island and I was getting the train up from Long Island every day to New York City. But by the 10th day, so like day 2, I went and I was like, I have to get a big slice of pizza. So I went in, got the pizza. And I was so polite and kind. I was like, can I please have it with the pepperoni and the thing? And people were like, come on. By the end of it, I was like, pepperoni, pizza, let's go. I got a tray.
I am busy here. Yeah, no, it's just.
I am a New Yorker.
I remember the one I was in Los Angeles and I had to go back to New York like immediately after coming from Los Angeles for like, I forget what it was. I had to go to an audition or something. And so it was like a day, not even a day in between being in the two. And within a half hour, I was walking to where I was staying. I saw 3 fights.
Love it.
This is the difference. It was like
beautiful.
This guy pulling over being like, what the fuck is this? And I'm like, I'm in New York. Now I know I'm in the place. Yeah, it was ridiculous.
I know. I was disappointed if I didn't see a scrap.
Yeah.
I was ready for it.
Yeah.
Come on.
I mean, they hire people to do that. It's like a street theater, because that's what the tourists expect.
I know. That was actually what I didn't get to go to a Broadway show. I didn't. That was disappointing. So I had the reason why maybe I didn't do it because I want to go back so that I can do all those things again.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Was like leaving your jacket there. So you got to go back and
get it. Return.
Yeah.
To do all these things again.
And I highly recommend Los Angeles at some point as a movie nerd, because I didn't go there till I think I was 30, and it was like everything was familiar because you've seen it in a million things. And
I kind of love that.
It was amazing. Like, you've never been there, but you're like, yeah, I know where that is. Oh, what's that? And everywhere, like even more than New York, because weirdly, like a ton of stuff set in New York is shot in LA. And there's this one hotel called the Biltmore that, like, if something is in New York, they shoot it there in LA. So like Ghostbusters, the Slimer scene is in there, and like Fight Club and Mad Men, and like all this stuff is just this one building. Like the ending of Pretty in Pink, like all this stuff is in this one building, and it's just like, you look at it and you're like, yep, that's it.
That's everything.
Yeah.
That's all. Okay, now I have a new that number one on the list now.
Yeah, it's got to be up there. We stayed at that hotel once, and it was really cheap because half the hotel was closed because they were filming Mad Men that weekend, and they were like apologetic about it. They were like, I'm really sorry. It's only $100 to stay here because it's such an inconvenience. And it was like,
oh my goodness. Could you imagine strolling down and just seeing any member of the cast there?
We did.
Fainted happily.
We did. Yeah. And it was funny because obviously it's a period piece. So we'd walk out of the building and there'd be like 1950s cabs everywhere, like only cars from the 60s. And we watched them film this scene over and over and over again with John Hamm just hailing a cab like for like an hour because they had to get it right. But it was because they'd have to reset everything because it was all these vintage cars. So it was like after they'd take it again, it was like, all right, everyone has to go around the block and like back. But it was cool. It was like, and they're like, we're really sorry. This is such a pain.
I would have gone down to the local shop and bought anything that looked 1950s and just pretended to be an extra just so I could be like, oh, I'm here. Yep. I'm meant to be here.
Extra on duty.
I'm on the list, guys.
It was funny seeing there were like paparazzi there taking pictures of them filming, and these poor interns would have to go over and clearly had this conversation with the people 100 times. It would be like, please don't take pictures. It ruins the show for people. I know I already asked you.
Look at the camera.
Yeah, and it was like, but yeah, it's I love going there. I miss travel, but someday.
I apologize if you hear music outside. We have in Ireland the ice cream truck that comes around, and of course there's a bit of sunshine, so our ice cream truck is doing its rounds. Everyone's going to run outside now and get a 99.
Really? Wow, it is nice there. We still have winter here, basically. It's like,
no,
what the hell?
When we say it's nice, it's like 3 degrees, and we're like, woohoo!
Yeah, no, same here. It was like in the 40s, which I guess would be like, I don't know, 6 in Celsius.
Yeah.
And people were like, shorts, gotta go out, get some sun. I'm like, no, that's it. Yeah.
Like we relate more than we realized.
Yes. Oh, it's very similar. So this one then wasn't that alien for you. As you mentioned, there's a ton of stuff in here that you recognized. Let's dive in. You want to go starting Saturday night and see what did it for you?
So there was Rugrats. Rugrats was a huge, huge thing because I think I related to Angelica and Tommy Pickles the most. I loved it. I was fascinated with their relationship. I didn't understand the dynamic at all whatsoever, but I was just, everything made so much sense to me. I was like, a screwdriver, of course it opens the playpen. This is fantastic. And then it was just, I loved it. Grew up with the Rugrats in the home. All of the toys. When McDonald's, do you know when McDonald's done the toys? Absolute killings for the Rugrats toys. Lived for them. They were the best things ever. I'm pretty sure I still have some.
The weirdest thing about Rugrats to me is Elizabeth Daly, who does Tommy Pickles' voice.
The voiceover. She's amazing.
She's amazing, and she was also the voice of Babe, Pig in the City, which is a great movie. But have you ever? She was like an on-screen like kind of romantic lead in a bunch of 80s movies, and was like this like sexy singer, which is hilarious because her speaking voice is pretty much Tommy Pickles. And so it's rewatching them now. It's a very odd thing.
I need to YouTube this like straight away after this. That's amazing.
She's got like 3 like dance albums from the 80s. And and they're all like, like sort of Kylie-esque sort of dance songs. And it just sounds like it would be wrong to do this, and I wouldn't do it myself, but someone should do it, where you could easily take footage of Tommy Pickles and edit in one of her songs, and it would look like he was singing them and sound correct, would just be so wrong.
This is genius. This needs to happen. This absolutely needs to happen. That's like your man, Seth, who does Family Guy.
Yes.
He's albums.
Yeah.
He has musical albums. I was like, he sings?
Oh, yeah. That is the most self-indulgent, like him just being like, yeah, I want to be in a big band. And they're like, well, you make us a lot of money, so okay.
I came across it recently. I was like, you sing too? You have and the album covers are just so like exactly.
Yeah.
So obvious album covers. It made me giggle even more. The fact that it was him just added to the humor of it all.
There's that level of fame that I think few people attain in the 21st century, just because the nature of the business, where no one ever says no to any stupid thing you want to do. And you're like, I want to have an album. They're like, perfect. We'll get you in the studio tomorrow. Like, no one's like, I don't know if you need to do that. It's ridiculous. So when I worked at the radio station, actually, Seth MacFarlane used to come in a lot because he's from here. Like the movie Ted, they shot here, and he's from this area. And he did everybody's outgoing voicemail as Stewie for everybody.
No
it was
way.
Just like, but it wasn't, the show wasn't that popular, and it got canceled and then uncanceled later. So people would be like, what is that on your phone? Or it would be like, that was a really awful Stewie impression. It was like, no, it's him.
It's actually him.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I wouldn't be able to. You met him in person, and probably be the first thing I'd ask him to do. I'm like, here, can you just do my voice message for me? He's like, man, you reached the phone. Callyann Brennan.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it was clearly something he was very used to. And then
stop.
To bring it down, because I'm all about making the things dark, he was supposed to be on one of the 9/11 planes out of Boston. And he's from Rhode Island, which is like an hour drive away. So on that day, he was going to LA, and he was late because he drove up from Rhode Island, and he had just missed getting on. And he was like, I need to get on that plane. I have to have a business day. And they wouldn't let him on. And that was one of the planes.
No, can't. No, I can't explain to you. It's mad. I'm all into that. I've watched so many of the documentaries, so many of them conspiracy theories change every second of the day. I'm like, okay, no, okay, yeah, okay, no. I'm invested.
Yeah.
Invested. That is crazy.
Yeah.
They did something on that before where it was like people who were about to get on those sort of planes, not just with 9/11, but in general. And then they missed it. And then something catastrophic happens. Madness.
Like the Final Destination movies. That's exactly what
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That scars me. I can't look at a roller coaster the same. I can't look at doors the same.
Yep.
They just ruin me.
Yeah. Or you're like making some tea and you're like, if I spill this, I might slip on it and then get impaled by knives, which are then electrocuted.
Exactly. I think after watching one or two of them, and I questioned every second thing I was about to do. If I do this, what will be the outcome of this? Yeah. You can't live in fear like that. You can't.
You really can't.
Not.
Yeah, it's no way to live. It's no way to live. And Seth MacFarlane, maybe he made that big band musical album to distract himself from living like that.
So fair.
Yes.
So fair. But yeah, so that was one. But one of the movies that were on. So in Ireland, with our TV guides, we used to have this thing called the Big Big Movie, and every Irish family, wherever you were, you would be sure to be home for 6, you'd get the mass Angelus out of the way, and then all of a sudden the big movie starts. And one of them that came up on the TV guide you sent me was Jaws. And I remember, holy Nora, the impact watching that as a big, these are meant to be for kids, mind you. The big movie of Jaws, traumatized. I could never look at the sea the same. Those keynotes on the piano are probably the only things I can play on my keyboard. I'm trying to teach myself, and that's all I've got down at the moment. But wow, shaped the sea fear.
Oh yeah, you are not alone there. So this was a thing. It was every Saturday night. It was like a family movie. That's what they would do.
Every Saturday night, because like that, we wouldn't, no Netflix, no thing. This was your source of movie. So you would make sure that you were at home, or she was where it played, and 6 o'clock after the Angelus, the Mass, whatever it was, you'd be ready to go with your popcorn and your sweets, and it's your family night. It's your Saturday night. You would never be interrupted. If you were to see your friends, no, there was just you. You were home for the big movie, and that was it.
I'm fascinated by Mass immediately followed by Jaws.
Isn't that like, only in Ireland, eh?
Like, I imagine the priest being like, that concludes our Mass, ladies and gentlemen, now please enjoy Jaws. And it's just like,
No, Ken, I can't explain it to you. Honest to God, so the way they do it, they would have the Angelus, so it would be the 12 rings of the bell, right? And like, ding. But the promo video they had for it would be people doing activities, and then they just stop those activities and look up to the sky in a glance, as in like, hello, my lord. It's the most bizarre thing ever, but it was so accepted. We're like, Jesus, there's the Angelus now. Everyone stop what they're doing. Take a moment for our Lord. Big movie, let's go.
The Lord gives us Jaws.
The Lord gives us Jaws and popcorn from the microwave. This is divine.
Yeah. No, Jaws is incredibly traumatizing. Like, I still won't swim in ocean water above my knees, probably because of Jaws. And again, shot here in Massachusetts and takes place here in Massachusetts. So
no way.
It takes place in like where you would go on vacation as a kid here.
Oh, you're ruined. Your childhood was ruined then. Just
the worst. And everyone was terrified of it. I remember one time I was on vacation and they did a screening of Jaws in it was really cool, but you were on rafts in a pool and they projected it. You were outside, so you're like in the water watching Jaws. And by the end of the movie, maybe 25% of the people were still there. Everyone was like, I'm not doing this. I'm going to get out of the water at this point.
No.
Yeah.
See, the thing is now I've turned that fear into a fascination, because one of the other movies that was on there was Free Willy, and I'm obsessed with orcas. I can't explain it to you. I'm obsessed. But because of the fear of Jaws and those keynotes on the piano, I've like turned it into around a bit of fascination. Now I'm fascinated with sharks and the water, and I'm just like, this is amazing. However, pay me to go in, not a hope. I'll happily watch from a distance. This is beautiful. Nature, David Attenborough style, divine. But no, when it comes to again, maybe not.
It kind of makes sense because orcas are known for killing sharks.
Ironic, isn't it?
So they could protect you.
I've got my orca sound down. So if I'm ever in a situation, I just know what to do. Okay. Free Willy has taught me. I've got the accordion. I'm ready to go. Or the harmonica.
Come to my rescue, orcas. Yeah,
I'm ready.
I would not do that, like swim with the dolphins thing. Like, no way. Like, you could not pay me to do that either. Like, it's not.
Really?
Wouldn't do it.
Isn't it mad? Humpback whales. Whales, the bigger, the safer I feel. Isn't that gas? The smaller, the more terrified.
Have you ever been on a whale watch? Have you gone on one of those?
No, I need to do it.
Yeah.
It's so not fair that I haven't for my obsession. It's not okay.
They're kind of underwhelming. Like, you almost never see whales. And when you do, they're like really far away to the point where you think the tour guide is kind of just making it up. Like, you just missed it. It was right there. You didn't see it?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Definitely lying.
Occasionally, though, they will be really close to the boat, and it's really scary because they're massive.
Are they massive?
They're so big. Like, so much bigger. Because you're like, it's a whale. I know it's big. We see it. I'm prepared for this. And then you see it, and you're like, oh, no, that's much bigger than us.
It's so true. You do. You actually have to mentally prepare yourself for those things. And I don't know. I think I would be starstruck if I saw an orca, because I'm so fascinated with them. I'd be like, hello, my friend, you beautiful animal. And you know what's really sad and naive of me? I used to think the white, maybe I shouldn't say this, the white at the side, because they were always shaped like an eye. I was like, their eyes are massive. They're so...
I mean, they're basically sea pandas.
I mean, that's what I thought as well, that these were these cuddly animals. And Free Willy had me so naive to how dangerous they are. And then someone turned around and go, you do know their other name is killer whales. And I was like, not a hope. He brings you around. He's so nice. And they were like, that is the one out of all of the pods. So,
like, Free Willy's not a documentary, right?
Yeah, I know. I'm so sad. I'm so naive. I'm such a gullible viewer of movies, so gullible, it's actually ridiculous. So Free Willy I loved. I had a giant orca teddy, and in Ireland you'd have your steps, and you probably did it too, and you'd go down with your mattress or you'd go down with something. We went down on the giant orca. That was our roller coaster down the stairs in the house.
That actually sounds kind of fun, though. I mean, if you're gonna pick an animal to ride down a stairwell, killer whale's pretty good. Yeah. Yeah.
A horse was always the second option of it, but when you're going down on it, you had the fins, which are perfect for like holding on to, but then obviously the top fin was just perfect. It was brilliant.
Yeah, you got the right
great speed.
It's got the right gravity to the ground. You got the volume is that's. I mean, if I had to pick, that's what I would pick.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm telling you now.
They give you a choice of animal. It's a new game show. It's huge. So did you have cable when you were growing up, or did you just get like the 4 RTE channels and the usual stuff?
Okay, like it was a situation. But that's what I'm saying. That's why taping back in the 90s was so big and important. We had our recording system, and then you had whatever it was, and it was commitment. So if we were to watch something and knew it was scheduling, your TV guide was your child, it was your adopted child, because you had to go exactly by the time that it was, and it would be aired, and it would never mess you about. You're so loyal to your stations. So we would only have probably about four or five channels, and then shortly enough it was brought up to we'd get a bit of the UK ones as well. So you'd have ITV or other things that would come on, which were grand, but you were quite loyal to your RTE in the 90s, I have to say. But yeah, no, everything and anything that was there that was on was taped, so that you couldn't miss it.
So you're basically handling the tapes like canned foods, so that at a later date you can be like, when there's a desert of things to watch, we have these saved. They're like preserves. Exactly that. We recorded, and it's so funny because if you watch back on them now, these old tape recordings, they're comical because you can see, because you had to time it so well. So you can see where the press record was going on, and it will be exactly like that. The end of the Angelus going into the movie, or something bizarre happening. Always the news. It's always a bit of the news before something exciting happens. And you can see where my mum or my dad would have pressed record, and then going into the ending of it. But it was dedication. I never ever understood what it meant to be able to just skip into a next song or skip to a next scene or something. If you wanted to go fast forward or rewind, you were there for a good half an hour. Like, it was commitment to the tapes. And it was always like, I missed it. All right, let me go back.
I know.
Yeah.
And then you like double speed it, and it just goes a black screen. You're like, okay, now press play now.
There's so many people I know who like their favorite movies from childhood were taped off TV usually. And when they see them now and they don't have like commercials in them or like the weird 10 seconds of the news, you're like, something's like it feels weird because they're so used to it.
It really does. I think the first one we ever recorded that I think we still have was Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Disney, proper old school. Oh, we watched it morning, noon and night. That tape was ruined by the end. Absolutely ruined. But that's the one thing as well with tapes that I find are fabulous. There's no scratches. You just the wind up and you're golden, you're Gucci, you're ready to go again. These DVDs were ruined because they were not handled with care.
No, of course not. Children and delicate media pieces do not go well together.
Do not go well at all whatsoever. But yeah, no, so we had those couple of stations and you were loyal to those couple of stations and you knew the times. You yourself then became a TV guide because you knew what was going to be on. You knew at 2:00 you're going to be getting this. You knew at 10 a.m. you're going to be watching your Ireland TV show, whatever it was. And then it was always the kids programs. And then once it hit 6 o'clock, it's mom and dad's telly. You have no say.
It's all the news, which is poison for children. Yeah. Yeah. I always say the best way, I have no children, but if I was to punish them, you would be like, you're going to watch the news. And they'd be like,
Don't do it.
No.
That's so cruel. That's so cruel.
Really
That's horrific. Don't do that to them.
I'm a harsh man. So that's Saturday. Anything else on Saturday, or are you on to Sunday?
I think we're on to Sunday viewing now.
Okay. So Sundays, I remember, I don't know if it was like this in Ireland, but I remember when I lived in England, it was the worst day of television.
Horrific.
Nothing. It was like snooker, darts, and like, that's it.
Yeah, that was basically it. However, when it reached a certain time was when it would get good. So as you would go through the day, so you'd get your morning things. So in our house, if we were watching it, would be the news. Great times. And then we'd be allowed to have your own TV show. So that would have been like that, the Rugrats or Doug or something like that we'd watch, which is Doug was actually on it as well, which I was like, oh my God, this is obviously where it came from. So you'd watch that, and then hopefully there'd be a bit of sunshine, you go outside, but when you come back, you'd come back and you'd be watching the news again because you don't want to miss out on anything else in the news.
Because so much happened between the first news and the second news.
So some farmer has got their tractor stuck somewhere and they need to talk about it. It is top news. Back then in Ireland, that is number one. That's all they're reporting on. Some farmer down in Cork has got their tractor stuck somewhere.
It's still there.
It's still, to this day, and it is still there.
He lives there now.
I know. But one of the things that came up that I noticed that was on it, and it would be more something that I'd watch now again, which obviously they done then, was reruns of like Friends or the Home Improvement. Loved them, and I still do. I feel like that's still in me. My dad would always watch Time. It was Time Team, and they were architectures, and they'd go back and they'd find stuff. And I, honest to God, thought that I'd be looking at the rings on trees. I'd be picking up stone, be like, this is from the Neolithic period.
That show was like, if there was a building site, they would have them come and like dig a hole in the back while they were doing like home improvement stuff, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was always that. But it was one that was on that there was the Home Improvement show, and I would religiously watch that on a Sunday. I'm no interior designer. I appreciate a fake plant in a house, don't get me wrong, but loved the before and afters. Yeah. They just get me.
Totally.
They're best.
Yeah, like changing rooms and like those kind of things where they would just be like, oh, we did this over.
Fun.
Yeah, we have a show here called This Old House that's been on for 40 something years. And it's like one of those home improvement shows, but they do one house for an entire series. So it's like 14 episodes of one house. So it's very, very slow.
No.
Yeah. You really just want to see the first episode and the last episode to see that result. But I would watch it as a kid, and it's literally like 20 minutes of a guy hammering. And I'm like, why? I don't know. I have no idea. No idea. It was just something about it was very satisfying. It was like sort of zen. It was just like, ooh, it was ridiculous. And they filmed it here. So when I think I was 4 or 5, and the town I grew up in, they did a series of This Old House on one of the houses in my town. So we would like go watch them film like it was Hollywood, but it's just some builders, and they were like putting up siding, and you're like, this is really exciting.
Oh my God, I love it. That was literally me when I used to watch How It's Made. And I'm not going to be able to say the word Ken. Wait, you see, aluminium.
Oh yeah.
When it melts is the most satisfying thing ever. I was anything from how to make a key to how to make a snooker table. I was hooked. That was my crypt. I just loved it. I was obsessed with this. Home Improvements and How It's Made. Yeah. Shaped my Sundays.
I would watch one. We had one here called, what the hell is it called? It was that, for foods, like candy and stuff. And
stop that.
Unwrapped. It was called Unwrapped. But
amazing.
The thing was, candy, like we've all seen Willy Wonka, where like candy's probably really exciting, and it's like the most boring thing to make, because like 95% of candy, it's like we put everything in a big drum and then it just spins.
And it smells.
And then it comes out. But it was like everything was like, oh, it spins around in this thing for an hour, and then that's it. And you're just like, wow, this is like trying to teach me that candy's boring.
Oh, stop. I know, because when you say that, that brings back a memory, because my dad used to work, he was a food scientist in HB Ice Cream, and it was a big one in Ireland. And my dad was there. So it was the perks of the job. So much ice cream, divine, like all boxes coming home. But we went in for a tour, and exactly like that, I was so excited to see this based on watching how it's made and all these different things. So simple.
Yeah, you're like there's
unfortunately, it was just so simple.
There's not rivers of ice cream and like elves. And
the guy who ran it came down, and he was no Willy Wonka. He just looked like Paddy from down the road that just talked to him.
So did your dad come up with flavors and stuff?
Yeah, so he has got the best taste palette ever, which is kind of ironic being on the Try channel that I'm like doing that too. But so he could tell you what a flavor is just by in an instant. So that's what he done, was to make sure that people like myself, the consumer, will appreciate what they're about to taste. And if my dad said no, or the consistency wasn't right, or anything like that, and that's a cool superpower in itself.
Yeah.
However, the superpower that my dad had was, do you know them people, Ken, the ones that can bite into an ice cream and not have any sensitivity associated with the munch? Blew my mind. He was just like, not a bother.
So he's completely immune from brain freeze.
I've never seen anything like it before. He should be in a lab himself.
Yeah, that is amazing. A superpower. Like,
it's a superpower. It's a superpower.
Man.
So yeah, when it came to flavors, shapes and stuff, anything like that, my dad was the go-to guy for testing all that out. It was great. So
he was the most important man in that building, and I've said it, you don't have to say it, we know. Because everyone was like, please don't say this is wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And he'd be going like, no, it needs more this, it needs more that. And then we'd nearly be the guinea pigs, because obviously ice cream more for children than anything else. So he had 4 little marketing minions. So it was perfect.
Unpaid.
So we'd come home with these unpaid little minions, but we were happy to oblige with this. So I remember when Solero first came out and Brunch first came out. Oh, we were like the first ones to get it. What a privilege now that I think about it. But yeah, we'd be like, oh, this is really cool. It needs more flaky bits though, Dad. There's not enough.
So when you see someone eating one of those now, you'd be like, you like the flaky bits? Yeah, you're welcome.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
you're welcome.
That was me.
But now they were bought, or something happened, and now they're real scabby with their flaky bits on the brunch.
That's why this generation is lost. They just
They don't understand. They don't understand. It's so depressing.
Would your dad ever eat ice cream like for pleasure, like outside of work, or is it like, that's work?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
To this day, ironically enough, and it's a really sad story, but I built up, for the person who had so much ice cream, I've now built up an intolerance in my last 5 years of living, which is so upsetting. So my dad still has it in his head that I can consume ice cream, and my dad, we know this situation can't happen. It's very sad. I apologize. It's a bad day for the parish, but we're just gonna have to move on from this. So he'll go out, and it's automatic for him to get a 99 with a flake and sprinkles, and then all of the syrup on it. And he'll have it gone. Honest to God, he needs to be in the Guinness World Record for the fastest person to consume an ice cream. I'll honestly be in having 2 minutes on it, and it's gone, and he's down to biting the last little bit on the cone.
He's eating it like it's his job.
It is, it's so funny, because you can see him going back into his old job roots. He's like, there's not enough of whatever it is in this.
He's having flashbacks.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is like a 91.
Like the Angelus is going again. He's like, not enough in this network.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Ice cream's a weakness of mine. We have a place here that has an ice cream called the Battle of Bunker Hill, which is one of the Revolutionary War battles. And the reason it's called that is because it's 17 scoops of ice cream for $17.76, which was the year that battle happened. And it's just this massive, it's fantastic. Yeah.
I love this.
It's great.
That is brilliant. That is so cool.
Gluttons. Well, before we move on to Monday, I did notice there's a double feature this evening on this night of one of the least good John Hughes movies, Curly Sue.
Do you know what? I seen that came up. I've never seen it.
You're not alone.
And it was advertised as well in it. It had its own advertising. I've never seen Curly Sue. And I feel like people gonna hate me on that one.
No, it was basically like, they were like, look, Home Alone was huge. Let's do that, but like with a girl. And it's not Yeah.
I can't.
The only fun thing about Curly Sue is there's a very early role by Steve Carell of the US version of The Office. So you see him for like a second. And then the other movie they paired it with is this movie called Necessary Roughness, which is just a terrible comedy about like a wacky football team. And like they have a girl who's the field kicker and it's like ragtag band of misfits and they might win. Like it's just that is not a great double feature of movies that night.
I love that so much. No, because I was watching recently as well. There's a kind of a series on movies and they have the directors and the actors coming on and talking about the sets or the production or like that. Steven Spielberg was on talking about Jaws and how he came up with the music and all this sort of stuff. Fascinating. Oh, you're gone. It takes hooked to my veins, addicted. So good. But they were talking about Curly Sue and I was like, oh, that's that movie. And they were talking about the production and everything like that. So that's ironic that you say that.
Yeah.
Very, very funny.
Very weird. I'll send you a link to the episode at some point, but I had Carl Gottlieb on who wrote Jaws. And
would you go out that now? It's
a fascinating story because he's a really interesting guy. But he wrote the script of that movie and he's a comedy writer. Like he came in and wrote the script.
But there is a comedic element into it. Let's just have it. The joke is on us.
Yes, true.
As a nation, as a world, he is laughing, being like, "You scared of the ocean now?"
Now he just wanted the ocean for himself. Now I have all of it. You guys are staying away, and it's just all for me now.
You just see this guy floating with a lilo, and he's like, "Yep, I did this."
All mine. 80% of the world, baby, is water, and it's all for me. Yeah.
Oh, that's so much.
It's a good plan. It's a good plan.
It's a great plan. Great plan. I love it so much.
Let's jump on to Monday. What jumped out for you?
On Monday, I have my list, and I put my list out somewhere, and I can't see it.
All right. It's quite all right. If you can remember, cool. If not, don't worry about it. Let me see.
I don't know whether Monday was the day of the reruns of Friends. Was it Friends or was it Saved by the Bell that was on that one?
Friends is on Thursday, so
that's probably where I'm getting it from.
Monday, there's a lot of sitcoms on. I think none of which really made it over outside of the U.S. Like The Nanny may have.
The Nanny was no, because I had that down, but I wasn't sure whether it was The Nanny the way we knew it as, which was a woman that would go into a home with children that were...
Oh, no, that was the reality show, like Super Nanny or like Nanny 911.
So it wasn't the same.
No.
Yeah, okay. So what was The Nanny?
So this was a sitcom with this like Long Island, or she was from Queens, like she's a lady that talks like this, she's rough and whatever. And so she becomes the nanny for like this very posh family who are like, the mother died, so they hire her to move in, and it's a whole like conflict of, cultures, and but maybe they will, maybe her and the dad, that will, is it all? We don't, yeah. And it was on forever. This sounds like something
I would watch.
It's not that bad. As far as sitcoms go, there's some funny stuff in it, but it was on forever. It was on for like 9 or 10 years, and it was beloved. And
by everyone.
Yeah. And it never really they never syndicated it outside the US. A couple countries bought the rights to remake it in their country. So there's like a Russian version of The Nanny. There's like all these other weird versions. But this is the original. Yeah. It's
we had nothing like that. You had Orty Jr. And TG Caher, and that was your nanny. That was the one that was minding you when your mom was in the kitchen making the dinner.
Yeah.
That looked after you. That was it.
Because the only like to your point earlier, Father Ted's like the only Irish sitcom I can think of.
And that is probably more part of an Irish culture than religion. I'm not even joking. Father Ted, like it comes religion and then Father Ted.
Yeah.
That's it. Like
I'd believe it. Because even here, because obviously we have a huge amount of Irish Americans here in the Boston area, like Father Ted was huge among them because they were like, they're like, it's from the old country.
But you know what's mad? To this day, there is still so much of that Irish element in Ireland today. Everyone knows a Father Ted character everywhere. It's just, it's so fun. It's such a good show. It never gets old. It's like exactly like that with Thursday with Friends. It just, no matter if you've seen it 100,000 times, it's still as funny as it was the first time you've seen it the first time.
It's almost better because you're like a joke's coming up and you're like anticipate. You're like, oh, I love this one.
This is the one with this is the underwear scene. This is the you get locked in the department store.
This is where he says, "Oh, I killed a man, father." This is the part. Yeah, it's the spider baby. Yeah, I love that. So it's a big sitcom night. Like Murphy Brown is on, which didn't really translate. But we also had a weird phenomenon here where they would make these made-for-TV movies that were like ripped from the headlines. And
yes.
They realized that there was this untapped audience of like middle-aged women that loved seeing made-for-TV movies just about women being abused and then like murdering the abuser. So we had... Every week there was a new movie like this. And this night is one called Moment of Truth, A Mother's Deception.
No, stop.
Oh, yeah. It was ridiculous. And it's this one, the twist on this one is, this is a remarkable story of one family's desperate fight to free their mom from a cult and bring her back alive. Every week there was something like this. And there...
But like, see, this, I don't mean, but this adds to the question mark over... What is going on, America?
Oh, a lot. Oh, a lot. Yeah. It's, oh boy. I mean, it's a very big country. So there's a lot going on, but this was, and these movies are so serious that they're hilarious because they're just the over dramatic, and it was a whole genre for like 10 years. And now there are whole cable channels that just rerun these movies.
This is brilliant.
They're insane. It's always like, he had two families. She found out and murdered him. Like, it's just these, and it's always like famous people who are on like other shows. So it'd be like a woman who plays the mom on some family sitcom is like expanding her range. So in this TV movie, she's like a serial killer or like a fireman that is an arsonist or like something.
I mean, fair play to the creators all the same. You know, it takes a creative mind to come up with stuff like this. Fair play. You wouldn't get that in Fair City now, because what you'd get on your Monday to a Friday, Ken, was Fair City. And you were raised on Fair City. We had Fair City, Coronation Street, EastEnders and Emmerdale. Those were your four sitcom shows, or your soaps as such that you watch. Yeah. So Fair City was based in Dublin. And the set is in RTE. So I'm part of RTE with the radio. And I cannot explain to you my disappointment when I seen the set. It is cardboard. It is so boring. Nothing looks real. I'm like, how does this look real on the telly? My mind is being blown right now. But yeah, you were invested in the storylines. If Maggie was about to cheat on Paddy, you'd be screaming at the telly, being like, don't, Paddy! Don't do it down the road with the leg. Oh jeez.
Is it still on? Fair City's still on?
It is still on. And you know what's mad? Now that I'm getting older, and when you become part of the media world in Ireland is a teeny tiny pod of people. So you are most likely going to know an individual on Fair City. So in the last couple of years, I'd say 5 mutual friends have been cast on Fair City. Or I remember where I grew up, there was one lad and he was an actor on Fair City, and he would go down to the local pub. And when I say the pints were pouring from every second person, like, there's Ken now from, do you want Guinness, Ken? Another Guinness for you. He was a legend because he was on Fair City. Are you going to die in the next? Mary's been asking me, are you dead in the next one? She'd be delighted if I go back and I give her the scoop. Please, just tell me.
How many Guinness do I have to buy you for you to tell me what's going to happen in this show?
And you know what? The bribery be there. He'd be like, 3 episodes in, Pat, 3 episodes. I die in 3.
And now Pat has privileged information.
It's gas. It's so funny, but it is. And they're probably your neighbour down the road who's casting it, because not going to lie, the acting is grand. Not massive Oscar-winning performances now, I have to say. Some of them are just divine. Others, you're like, wow. But at the same time, you're just so proud of them. You're like, well done. You've made it. If you're on Fair City, you've made it.
Local talent made good.
Proud as punchier.
Yeah, it's weird because the other 3 soaps are from England, and so it's And it's
Total
weird.
different.
Yeah, completely different. And then did you get the Australian ones too, like Home and Away and Neighbours?
Do you know what? And I'm so happy you brought this up because that oh my goodness, Home and Away was just ridiculous. I never got into it purely because I think even at a young age I was so in awe and intimidated by the raw beauty that came out of Australia. And Irish pale people just can't get to that level of beauty. So I was like, you know what? I'll stick to the cobbles of Coronation Street. I relate closer to them than I do to this beach sun-kissed goddess that I'm looking at on my screen. But no, I think the only time I really ever watched it was after, obviously, the whole Kylie thing happened, which was mad. Was that Neighbours? I think it was Neighbours.
That was Neighbours, yeah. Her and Jason Donovan were on Neighbours.
Between the two.
Who was on Home and Away? Like Natalie and Bruglia?
Couldn't tell you, but all I know is all those girls that were probably 2 years older than me, if everyone just wanted to look like people from Home and Away. So they were dyeing their hair. They were the uniforms, the skirts were getting shorter. All this, it was just madness. And then as you got older, obviously the feeling towards the show still lasted, because in Ireland, what we do is if you go to a nightclub, they would bring someone over from either the UK or some TV show that you're obsessed with. To this day, if they got someone from Home and Away to come to a nightclub, the queues would be out the door. Would they be like DJing, or just like you go and meet them, or they're just there? It's a guest appearance. You just go, say hi, get a photo, and walk away, and that is it. But you will be queuing for years because they were on Fair City, not Fair City. They were on Home and Away. You wouldn't be getting that for Fair City at all.
I want a Fair City Home and Away crossover, which would be pretty interesting.
Oh my God! But could you imagine?
The thing about Home and Away, it looks like Saved by the Bell.
Yeah.
Like it's like the same kind of production value, like the same sort of sunny, like sets kind of thing, but then it's really serious.
Yes, that is exactly it. That is exactly it. I mean, you got it in my head now. I want a crossover though.
Yeah.
Now that you've said it, I want a Fair City Home and Away crossover. Could you imagine the Irish people going to the beach? All of you just factor 50 everywhere.
Yeah, it'd be like we're just staying inside. It's too, and the sharks. Yeah. We're not gonna go out. You just exchange a couple actors. We could pitch this. It would be fantastic. And then Tuesday, anything that you remembered?
Tuesday, I think, was the Doug one. So we watched that religiously as well. We loved Doug. Doug was gas. And I never understood it. I never understood what was happening. I was just fascinated with, I was just in awe of the animation. That's all it was. It was just so cool. And I think it was the follow-on from the Rugrats. So you'd have your fix of the Rugrats for the day, and then Doug will come on. And I think you'd feel that a little bit more grown up in your life. Yeah. So as Doug Hey Arthur as well was one that was always there too. That to this day, I still don't understand what was happening in that home. Like, honest to God, I don't know what was happening.
It was very weird. Yeah.
It was all of the dynamics happening. But anyways, but Doug, yeah, definitely. And I always was fascinated with the lack of hair, but the hair.
And his friend Skeeter always worried me because he was blue. I'm like, is he choking? Like, what's that? Like, someone... I'm worried about him.
Never registered that.
Like, you're not supposed to be like, that's a problem that you have to do.
That is so true. And there was another one as well, Recess. Well, what were these characters? Now that you're out of it and older and you watch back on the things that you used to watch, there's a huge question mark over, one, mother, why did you let me? And two, what is happening?
Yeah, these kids are psychotic. And no one is, I remember I hadn't seen Recess, and they made a movie of Recess, like a theatrical movie. And I watched it. It was the first thing I watched it on a plane. And I'm like, what is this? Like, is it always like this?
Is it always this?
Apparently it is. Goodness.
Oh my goodness.
Very strange. Anything that was Wednesday? I think you said
Wednesday. Anything, probably soaps again.
Yeah.
Wednesday, so Irish Wednesday, it's soaps.
Irish Wednesday.
Monday, honest to God, Monday to Friday, you come home from school or wherever it was, your play group or whatever, and you have your dinner. Always not the most fantastic of dinners, bless my mother's heart and soul. Everything went into it, but anyways, swiftly moving on. Everything coated in gravy. Cover up everything, just put gravy on it. And then you would watch your soaps. You'd watch one after the other. Soaps.
It's so weird too, because soaps here, which kind of don't exist anymore, were always on in the middle of the day. So they were called soaps because they were specifically for housewives, and they advertised soap on them because they did all the cleaning. And so the fact that they would be on like when kids could watch them or like families watch them blew my mind when I moved to the UK. When I'm like, oh, this is like. It's not just like like if you're homesick, you'd watch them. But
oh my goodness.
So it's such a
treat.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like, oh, I'm homesick. I can watch game shows and soaps. And you would like try to like them. Although when I worked at that TV station, we used to have to, I was in college. The thing I did was I was on the complaint line.
Love that. That's a terrible job. I feel so sorry for your ears.
It's terrible, but was also hilarious. But we had to watch TV all day because we had to know what was going on. Like if people called, because they would call with weird
terrible
things.
job.
Yeah, it was. But I got really into the soaps because you had to watch it every day. So like by the third week I was working, I'm like, oh no, is Thorne cheating on her? Like, because it would just be ridiculous. So
I love it. Look, you do get so committed to these people's lives.
Yeah. And you don't like everyone I know is be like, I wouldn't get into that. Like everyone thinks they're immune.
Wrong.
Always wrong. Like
of course you do.
Two episodes in, you are hooked, and that they're so good at it.
The best is the Irish dads. So, we're not watching that rubbish again. Take that shite off the tap. Soon, all of a sudden, he's itching in. He's itching in from whatever he was fixing or bulbing or whatever. Sat down with a cup of tea. Jesus, that fella's still cheating on your one. Now, last week he wasn't doing that. What's going on? Louise, tell me, what's happening? And then you have to get that when the ads are on. Okay, we've got 2 minutes. Fill me in. What's happening?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, they'll pretend, but we know.
Oh, yeah, really but they're so invested. And then at night time, you're going to bed and you're like, so do you think tomorrow he might actually propose? Because I think he will. My money's on he will. What do you think now? We'll have to watch it tomorrow. Make sure we're home now. Everyone's home now for this. We need to watch this. Just because
it's bad. I just want to make sure it's still terrible. That's why I'm watching it.
That's the only reason why, okay? Once this storyline is done, I'm going back into the kitchen and fixing something. Then that's it.
Just supervising what my children watch. And then Thursday's Friends, as you said, which was massive. It was big here, but is like the biggest export sitcom we have here. Like it's so much bigger in other countries than it is here.
I have a Friends t-shirt. I have Friends bed sheets. I swear, I'm like right now I'm on Harry Potter. I'm a big Harry Potter fan. Like it's actually I'm so sad. But Friends was, so I watched it from the first, like as soon as I could watch it, I was watching it, to rewatching it, to honestly about a couple of months ago, starting from scratch and watching them all again and just howling. Because now that I'm of age, when I'm 26 now, so they were all 24, 26, 27 in the show, and everything makes more sense. Yeah. I'm like, I relate so much more to this now. Like, but back then I was like, oh, that's a joke, I'll laugh. Right. But now I'm like, that is hilarious.
Yes. You're like, hey, a monkey, that's funny. And now you're like, that's 100% a truth in life right now. Yeah.
I understand the monkey now. I may get one too.
Yeah. I've reached that phase in my life. Yeah. It's weird because like Seinfeld, which was massive here. And so on Thursday nights, there was this thing they called Must See TV. It was like the biggest shows that everybody watched. And it was like Friends, Seinfeld, Cheers for a bit, Frasier, those kinds of shows. But Seinfeld was by far much more popular than Friends. And then it didn't go anywhere outside the US. Like it would be on like late night, maybe on like a Friday night on some weird channel. So nobody knows Seinfeld outside of the US, but Friends, everybody is like, yes, everyone. Yeah. And
they would always relate to a character. You were always like, no, today I'm feeling more like Monica. And then the next day, I always say I relate more to the lads than I do to my mom. Like, you're so Rachel. And I'm like, no, I actually relate so much more to Joey. I love food. I don't share food. And I'm just that dull when it comes to a lot of things in life.
And you live with a guy named Chandler. Like, that's the
And I live with a guy named, and it's fantastic. And we have those chairs. Baywatch was on as well. Yes. Love that.
Oh, did you watch Baywatch?
It was actually on the TV guide, and I never watched Baywatch purely because it's a sin. Like, you can't.
It's just
You
too
cannot-
much.
Irish people back, you cannot be watching Baywatch. What are you doing? No, definitely not.
Baywatch is just so amazing. Is
it?
It's so ridiculous. And so David Hasselhoff of Knight
Yes.
Rider fame, he sings a song in almost every episode. There'll be like a full-on music video, like a montage, and it'll be Hasselhoff singing, and it's
this done well.
huge. It's insane. Because it's lifeguards, but they'll be like solving crimes, which lifeguards don't do.
Imagine yourself back then, and you're in a board meeting, and people are panicking. Someone hasn't done their homework the night before, and it's like, shit, I need to come up with an idea for like a TV show. What will I do? Oh, where was I the other day? I was at the beach. I saw a lifeguard. Feck it. I'll pitch this.
Yeah.
And then I like musicals. Do you know what? One of them's going to sing. And then he goes in, pitches it to the head guy, and he's like, genius.
Yeah.
Let's go with this.
Bathing
And
suits and we can
section of
shoot at the beach all day? Works for
Boom.
me. Yeah.
Girls are running fabulous. Lads are running beautiful.
It was the biggest show in the world. It was the most financially successful show in history,
Gosh.
which we know what sells now. But
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Freud made his point and it sticks.
but it is such a ridiculous show. It is just like well worth watching. I did a rewatch of the Christmas episode last year and like live tweeted it, and I forgot how insane that episode is, where there are actual elves in it, like Santa's elves show up on vacation.
Oh,
and
for
then
goodness sake.
they like hunt down this guy who's kidnapped a kid, and the elves like beat him up and then like make him eat sand.
I mean, the script writers were definitely on something.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
I think it's one of those shows where like they just keep pitching things waiting for someone to tell them no, and no one ever does. They're like, I was kidding, and then he was like, do it. Now I have to.
Oh my God, I love that so much. That's actually so true. It's very, very true.
So that's the week. Is there anything you've been watching in lockdown, like any comfort shows or anything that you've like movie discovered or old shows?
The one thing that I watch was the movies. So it's on, we have this thing called Now TV. So it's been on that, and I think it's the UK. We have Now TV that are from the US. So it's kind of like the import of whatever you're getting over in the US, you can get here. So that I've been hooked on because I just love knowing what directors and producers were thinking when they're making these scenes, or the music behind it. Like, oh my God, I love Hans Zimmer, all that sort of stuff. Love all that. So it's getting all of the goss behind the scenes. But I think more things that I'm watching now are just going back to things. Now, why all of a sudden has everyone and their granny turned into an obsessed person with crime?
Yeah.
I've never watched so many crime documentaries in my life. And honest to God, I'm kind of worried for how confident I will be to get away with a murder. Do you know what I mean?
That's what I always wonder. I'm like, we're just teaching
They're giving
people.
tips.
Yeah.
They're giving tips.
Yeah.
Stop bringing them out, Netflix. I now cannot walk down my road and be like, this guy knows this. I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah. How did he get caught? I won't do that.
I won't do that. Taking mental notes without realizing it. But I'm sitting down and I'm looking at my other family members, and we're like, Jesus, that's shocking. But I wouldn't have done it that way now. And I'm like, guys, this is not okay.
Yeah, it's very weird to fuel conversations between families of like, well, how would you have murdered that person?
I know, and it's so okay. Family dinner now, it's discussions of I wouldn't have done that. That's not the technique I would have. I mean, the gloves. You need the gloves, for God's sake. But speaking of, one of the things in the TV guide was, back then, 1994, the O.J. Simpson trial was going on. And the main thing that was happening was whether the media were allowed in or not in trial by media, all that sort of stuff. And one of the series that I was watching recently was the O.J. thing of it.
Yeah.
Wasn't mad about it. It was grand. It was good. But it made me go back onto YouTube and on different things, and I wanted to know more. I wanted to make my own interpretation of whether he did it or not.
So I don't think they covered it in the miniseries, but he wrote a book called If I Did It. Are you aware of this?
Oh, for God's sake, no, he didn't.
It's insane. So he basically...
Did you read it?
So I have, and I have a PDF of it because it got pulled before it came out. And it's absolutely insane. It's basically like a 200-page confession with under the guise of like, well, if I'd done it, this is how I would have done it. And it's crazy. Like, it is insane. And actually in downtown LA, there's a knife store and it's where he bought the knife. And I think it's called the Cuttery. And every time I'm down there, I'm like, that's where OJ bought the knife.
No.
And it's ridiculous. But that book is insane. You're like, this man is out of his mind, and he clearly did this. But that whole time, like, I was in school, and when the verdict came out, they called us all out of classes.
Stop. See, that's the power of media, isn't it?
It was like, in hindsight, like at the time, you're like, well, yeah, of course, it's the OJ verdict. Like, we all have to leave class in the middle of the day and go into the auditorium and watch it. But I couldn't. That's craziness.
Could you imagine that happening now? Like, it's madness. But that's the thing. Like, that's happening then, and even to this day, it's still such a topic to be discussed at the dinner table.
Yeah. Okay, sure. Yeah. It's very weird. It's so weird when I see him. He's like on Twitter and he'll like tweet stuff, and I'm like, you're a murderer. Oh my, no, that's just, it's too close for comfort. Yeah. It is just such a bizarre situation. It's like, no, thank you. You're good. You you stay where you at. I'll stay where I'm at. Let's just keep that there. You're a murderer. That's cool. I'm fine.
Fascinated with the story, but let's keep it as if it's a fable rather than anything else.
Yeah. I don't want the real person here. That's fine.
No, I like I like the media stuff, not the actual real life thing.
Yeah, but as someone in media and fascinated with media studies, that whole debate of cameras in the courtroom is really fascinating. And I think
but that's one of the things that we studied was courtroom reporting. And so I've got my degree in media. And one of the things was, and it was, honest to God, it was a day out. You'd get your popcorn, you'd have your snacks, you'd go in. And the best one was, the criminal ones were so interesting. And you'd pick a day where you know that they're like either the plaintiff was coming on or the big questions were being asked or evidence was being shown. You'd go in for that. No, the best ones were the civil cases where it's like, Joe, you didn't pay the fine. Now and it's the judge, and they're coming in and they're like, your Majesty, Your Honor.
But that's why Judge Judy's the best, and I still watch it to this day.
Oh, Judge Judy! Oh my God, that was it. Honest to God, that was one of the other ones that we were forced to watch, and I hated it until I got older, and now I worship the ground she walks on.
It's amazing.
What a woman!
It's amazing.
What a woman!
Seeing her just yell at people is so great.
Divine.
You're an idiot, sir. There was my favorite one. It was these kids from here, and these girls had they threw something. It was a whole like kids got in a fight, and Judge Judy goes, "Ma'am, your daughter's an idiot, and she's a liar, and teenage girls are liars." And then the girl gets so mad. She's like this mean girl type girl, and she goes, "This is not a fair justice." And it's just like, oh, this is why I watch television.
This is perfect. It's just the best thing ever. And she's so smart. You learn so much, but at the same time, it's just the drama is gas.
A friend of mine was at spring training for the Boston Red Sox, which they would do in Florida every year. And it was the year before they won the World Series, even though it's only teams from America. And he had like a program, and he was having all the players sign it, and they're handing it around. They're all signing it. He got the whole team to sign it. In comes Judge Judy.
No.
And she just grabs it and signs it and hands it to him, which now makes it worth nothing. Because baseball fans don't want a thing that's signed by Judge Judy.
Oh,
so she was just
I'd buy it.
Here you go. It was just like the best.
Buy it.
Yeah,
I'd buy it.
Yeah.
I'd be that person.
Anything she signs.
You would take all of my money.
Another reason you need to go to Los Angeles, if and when COVID's over, you can attend a taping of Judge Judy.
Stop it. I can't. I can't.
I couldn't handle it. Yeah, I think I would die.
I went into a sitting for the late with Seth.
Oh yeah.
So fascinating. He was promoting, there was some guy was on from Rocket Man, and it was deadly. It was so cool. And then went back home and watched it. And we were like, we were just sitting there like 2 hours ago.
Yeah. Although you have your own late show and the late toy show. I mean, that's the ticket that everybody wants.
The late toy show. I can't even explain it to you. It is just as important to us as the potato. Like, it is ridiculous. So good L. Ryan Tubridy, good man. He was one of the guys that actually got me into radio. He gave us a tour of my family, a tour of RTE, and because of that tour, it just instilled the love for radio in me. So he's a great man for doing that for people. But the Late Late Show, when we get big acts, it's a big day. It's a big Friday. We live Friday, of course. Why didn't I even think of this? Friday in Ireland, the Late Late Show is your only source of entertainment to this day. And you go through like an awkward period of being 15 up to say 22. You don't watch the Late Late Show. Then after that, lads, pints, let's get the Late Late Show's on. Let's see who's on this week. But the Late Late Toy Show, you've got pajamas, you've got the hot chocolate, you've got everyone and their granny and everyone is sitting down watching the toy show to see what happens. And this year was just a beautiful one because obviously we had no audience or anything because of COVID, but the stories were just on the heart. Oh my God, they melt you. And then you get Dermot Kennedy rocks out. You're like, go on, Dermo. And, it's just beautiful.
Yeah, it's
a beautiful show.
I had never heard of it till this year. And so I heard of it just before last Christmas. And so I got to watch this year's. And I was like, this is the greatest thing ever.
It's like 4 hours long. So good.
Yeah. It's like, we need something like this. This is perfect. But I don't think it would work here. Sadly.
No, we own it. It's our pride and joy, honest. And then Ryan, the presenter, he's just so honest. If he's having a mare with the mic or the wire, he's like, I'm having a mare with the mic and the wire.
Yeah, it's got this sort of homemade feel, but it doesn't seem cheap. It just is like endearing. Like something about it is so like,
perfect word to describe it. It's wholesome. It's Irish through and through. And the kids have no filter, which is even better. I love it. It's absolute mayhem and I love it.
Little Irish kids telling you why certain toys are garbage is just genius television.
You can't get any more honest. No. You actually cannot get any more honest than an Irish child. ever. Don't mind any reviews. They are who you need to go to. If you're trying to come out with a new product, go to kids and Irish kids.
Which is what your dad did for ice cream.
Exactly. Oh my God, yeah. It's a full circle.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. It's been great talking to you. I'm so glad you were able to do it.
I have had so much fun. I feel like I've gone down like a memory lane that I was not expecting to go down. It has been an absolute joy. And I was saying to a couple of friends that I was doing this and they big fans.
Oh, really?
They're like, that's brilliant. And they love the name.
Oh, thank you.
Such a good name.
Everyone loves a pun.
Everyone loves it. But no, seriously, thank you so much for asking me to come on. I'm absolutely honored. And you're joy to chat to.
Oh, yeah.
Chat to all day, man.
Yeah, I know. I would too. It's bad. I just keep people hostage. Well, thank you so much.
Two media people. Is it a great idea? Maybe not.
Yeah. They just talked till they both died of dehydration.
I mean, I'd be proud to go that way. I'd be very proud.
So fun. Callyan's great. I had a great time talking to her, and I really hope that COVID is over so that she can explore all of the places in New York she missed. And I just want to hear about her various excursions into Los Angeles at some point in the future. That's what I look forward to, living vicariously through the joy of others, which is actually kind of the whole point of this show, I guess. Now that, can you tell my therapist died a year ago and I haven't had therapy in that long? Because I'm having a breakthrough here. Anyway, if you would like to discuss anything, I'm not a licensed therapist, but you feel free to talk to me. You can do so at tvguidancecounselor@gmail.com or ken@icanread.com. I'm also on social media at tvguidance and at Kenneth W. Reed. I will also put up links to Callyan's stuff. Go to the Try channel, just put in Try channel or Irish People Try on YouTube and prepare yourself for a highly entertaining probably a week. I'd say you'd watch nonstop for a week and then you'll shower and then you'll go to a normal schedule as they release them. But that first initial blast it'll be at least a week. Anyway, also thank you to everyone who gives to the Patreon. I've been trying to post some more stuff on there. I've been digging through my archives, finding some episodes that didn't quite make the audio cut for general release, but are pretty interesting and putting them up on there. Video footage, old stand-up stuff, some of my lost partially completed stand-up albums and a bunch of other stuff. So if that is of interest to you, you can go to patreon.com/TV Guidance Counselor. Give as little as $1, as much as, I'm going to cap it at $1 million. I don't want you giving me more than $1 million a month. I feel like that would be a burden, but anywhere between 1 and 1 million would work for me. And you don't have to give anything. Also, I just appreciate you being here, telling people about the show. Also, if you go to tpublic.com/user/TV guidance counselor, we have all our merchandise up on there. It's print on demand, so I'm able to do all kinds of designs. So if you have a design request, I could also do that. Or I am trying to bring back the artist series of TV Guidance Counselor artwork. Or if there's something you want, there's posters, there's phone cases, there's t-shirts, there's hoodies, all kinds of stuff, masks. So if you want to do that, you can do that as well. Or you know what? You can do nothing. I'm not going to check up. You could tell me you did it. I won't even know if you did, or you can just stay silent and I'll assume you did or didn't. We won't know. Anyway, I'm babbling because that's what happens when you sit in a room by yourself and talk into a microphone with no feedback, meaning like verbal, not like an audio. Anyway, I'll be here next week and I hope you will too. So be here next time for a brand new edition of TV Guidance Counselor.
The Lord gives us jaws and popcorn from the microwave. This is divine. Yeah.